control. I have control. I have control. Execute.
Welcome to the Berm Limits podcast.
Presented by
.net.
So, guys, we had a riveting conversation that will always be a mystery to you, more than likely, because we had a snafu with our technical.
I messed up the audio again. I'm terrible at this.
He's not terrible at this. It's almost 8 o'clock.
It's been a long week.
On a Friday.
Yeah. But really, you didn't miss much. You missed us talking about Monster Rehab for like 30 minutes straight.
Yes.
You
our
missed
choices of soft drink besides Monster and flavors that we prefer.
Right. And you know what? Let's not even get too into it. We're not going to get into the bulletin points as usual. What we wanted to do is make sure that you are aware of what you're about to watch.
What you're about to watch is an amazing interview that I will get to experience with you fine people between Andrew Smrecek and Jay Gibson.
From Praelectus Training and Combat Art Training. While I was down in Florida, got to have an awesome conversation with them. There might have been some whiskey involved, at least for me and Jay. I don't think that Andrew partakes. I may have gotten a little tipsy, but that certainly did not hamper the interview at all. They are great guys. We talked about some really deep shit, some philosophical stuff, all stemming from the start of a conversation around myths and misnomers and farces. Farcy. All things that are not right in the gun training world. So myths.
I would have loved to have injected Sonny into that same conversation because he has quite a bit to say about that.
Oh yeah, well
that would have been fantastic.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, Andrew and Jay are running a class in PA coming up
over the summer. In August, I believe.
Yeah.
You can find the current dates on bulletin.net.
Actually, it's July.
It's in July?
It's before the muster.
Before the Tremis Dynamics muster, where you can learn about patrolling the homestead.
Yeah, and I've taken the class. Mike will be taking the class, I believe.
Yes, I will.
I'll be assisting with the class, maybe running some interference and messing with them a little bit. But
you'll be the Op 4?
Yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, so it's a fantastic class. Those two together, it's an amazing combination of those two together. Like they just gel.
They're a fun time.
Yep.
So yeah, check them out on Bulletin. Check out all the classes on there on bulletin.net. More and more things are being added every day. As a matter of fact, just had a amazing conversation today and yesterday, and actually there's been a few over the last couple weeks. So I talked to, why am I blanking? Super Dave Harrington of Combat Speed. He has signed up on Bulletin. We are listing his class down in Leesburg this month. I believe it's the 27th. If you're in the area, you should definitely check him out. He is a national treasure from what I've heard. I have not gotten to learn from him, but I've gotten to speak with him on the phone a couple times. He seems like a good dude.
Zach is going down.
Zach
in November.
Leesburg is turning into a hotbed of training activity.
Yeah.
Aries training facility.
Yeah.
Those guys are awesome. I love Trey. He's a good dude.
Yeah, it really is. Andrew is doing some really, really special things down there. Bringing in trainers. Sonny's going back down there also in the fall. So he is really doing the things. Like he has decided that the hell with driving and traveling, he's just going to bring everyone to him, which I think is a great idea.
Sure, yeah. That's what I'm trying to do up here in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
I actually just got an email today. Hopefully, I'm not going to try and give too much info away, but let's just say
I talk to these people. I mean, these are friends.
Yeah, no one's going to listen.
Right.
I
know all 5 people that are watching this.
I've been trying to find a facility or outdoor range club, if you will, that will allow me to host Don Edwards and the crew at Greenline for a night shooting class. It's very hard to find. I might have made some progress.
Ooh.
I might have. So if you are interested in that, please comment below or over at the Bulletin community and tell me if you want night vision classes here in Pennsylvania.
Maybe
if you would sign up for them.
Maybe keep an eye out for a post.
Yep.
Concerning said topic.
But you should comment on these, and you should give it the thumbs up on the video, and tickle the subscribe nipple if you're not already a subscriber. So, but yeah,
Jamie, that means you too.
Yeah, awesome things going on at Bulletin.
Yep,
we're constantly growing. I'm hopefully very close to a well, nobody would really know, a site update that allows me on the back end to start doing some things. So, we're always progressing. So, but mainly. We get really excited when people join and they start listing classes. So check out all the trainers on bulletin.net.
Yeah, I am so happy for the growth of it, because when you first told me what it was, before it was a thing, it was immediately like, whatever I can do.
Yeah.
So it is exciting for me to see its growth, all of the different trainers that have signed on. And I think it's only going to continue to do great things.
I hope so. And I hope I can turn it into a legitimate business at some point, because it costs a lot.
So Monster, if you're looking for if you're looking for sponsors,
if anybody wants to sponsor Bulletin, I swear we really could use it.
Speaking of that, how would they do that if they wanted to?
How would they sponsor us?
Yeah, like if they want to sponsor an episode, they want to sponsor in general, how would they go about doing that?
That's a good, I don't actually tell a lot of people this, but it's a very secret process. There's a blood pact involved. But mainly the first step is you just send me an email at mike@bulletin.net. And we could talk.
And the spooning comes later, right?
We've already gotten 2 sponsors. As a matter of fact, the sponsor of tonight's interview is Pig Armament.
Turtle Castell.
Good dude. Great rifles. And we're super, super happy to have him as a sponsor and a friend. More so a friend. The sponsorship is the bonus. But we love working with Turtle. Ammo Supply Warehouse has started sponsoring some podcast episodes. So it's just a matter of getting in touch if you guys want to sponsor it, or if you just want to sponsor the thing that is Bulletin. You just reach out. We'll figure something out.
Yep.
But so with that said, we ask you all, please listen to the upcoming interview. I think you'll really enjoy it.
I think it's going to be amazing.
Yeah. So until next time, we'll talk to you then.
See you later, guys.
All right, bye. When you need a quality built AR that will hold up to the mud, the rain, the stress of real world use, look no further than Pig Armament. Rifles built and tested by people who train. IronPigArmament.com. Well, I guess we could start this thing off with welcoming everybody. So, hi, everybody. Welcome to another special interview of the Berm Limits podcast with a good friend of mine,
Andrew Smrecek.
Andrew Smrecek. Not Smrecek.
Not Smrecek.
Not Smrecek. And
Jay Gibson.
Jay Gibson. 2 of my favorite people in the world, and both Florida men.
Watch out.
Living up to the name.
Yeah.
You guys are both from Florida, right?
I call Florida my home. I'm actually from a little bit north of here. It's by several hours, but
it's in Florida.
It's pretty close.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I was born in Hawaii, and I grew up in Minnesota because that makes sense. And then after I got out of the Marine Corps, I moved down here to raise my daughter.
Okay. Well, you look like out of those 3 places, like Hawaii, Minnesota, or Florida, you have the Minnesota look.
Yep.
I was going with Ohio.
Ohio.
Oh, don't do that to me.
I'd have been way off.
I don't even like Minnesota.
You certainly, I mean, like, you know, if somebody was like, hey, this guy roots for the Vikings, I'm like, yeah, he does.
No, of course he does.
Look, he adopted the whole look.
Right. They'll throw him off the boat.
I was just trying to scare New Yorkers out of Florida, man. That's all I intended to do.
Yeah. Well, you know, they deserve to be scared.
Yes.
Well, you know, we have the opportunity to chat today because we're down here in Florida on a special episode of a travel episode of the podcast. And I've had the pleasure of seeing both of you guys in class the last couple days as part of a training trip with Travis Dynamics. We're down here doing dynamic carbine. Mm-hmm. We got the first 2 days down, and we got day 3 carbine coming up tomorrow. And man, I hope it's a little drier.
It won't be.
Right.
Of course,
just be glad it's not hot.
Well, that kind of brings me into a thought, if you will, a theme of the podcast. So we wanted to get together. You and I have had this idea for a couple of weeks now, talking about what can the topic be, and myths of the gun world.
Yes.
I love talking about this stuff. I know you're very passionate about it. Jay, I think, while is, you know, maybe less passionate about it, I'm pretty sure he's the source of many myths of the gun world.
Oh, shit.
You know, he is a mythical creature himself.
You have my curiosity piqued already.
But myth number 1, and I just thought of this one on the fly. If it ain't raining, we ain't training.
Okay.
Is that true?
Well, you know, like I think I mentioned the class, but Red Dot Pistol with Green Line Tactical that I did last year, it was probably the hottest day of the summer in Florida. And one thing that I was thinking when I was in that class, I was like, damn, these people here are awesome because they're out here breaking their balls off, breaking their ass off, sweating, and it's miserable, but they're putting in the time, the work. And the other thing is I'd rather do that in air conditioning. And I think people learn a lot better when they're comfortable than when they're miserable. Okay. And I know because I've gotten heat exhaustion while teaching, and I've seen my students be like, oh, you're getting dizzy. And I'm like, yeah, let's go sit in the shade for a little bit.
Yeah. So you don't think that everyone has to be as miserable as possible to get the full experience of a training evolution?
I think there is I saw one instructor who was Army, and he said to a guy, he's like, dude, you can get just as good as a special forces guy at shooting. You know, like the biggest difference, you know, with me being military is that I have suffered more than you, and there is a value in suffering. But you know, if you're trying to shoot your gun more accurately, a little bit faster, and communicate with other people, you know, you don't have to suffer for that. Mm-hmm. That doesn't have to be the learning environment. That even I tell my students all the time, I'm like, yeah, you got that cool kit on. That's awesome. You are welcome to wear it. However, at noon, you're not going to like it. And I would encourage you just wear your normal EDC and throw a rifle mag in your back pocket, and you're good.
Yeah. Mm. What do you think, Jay?
Man, I think it's applicable to whatever you're trying to accomplish. Like, certainly, like if you're a young guy going into the Marine Corps, Special Forces, or that kind of thing, mm-hmm. You're going to suffer, and suffering builds internal character, and then all those people tend to gravitate toward each other, and they all talk about, hey, remember the time, you know, it was miserable and we're sweating and blah, blah, and I couldn't sleep and you were throwing up and blah, 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 blah. And, you know, remember you got pregnant and, you know, and the other thing. And so
that gerbil was involved.
Dude, I'm just saying. And then, you know, whatever happens there stays there, unless it's Wuhan.
Or a gerbil.
So yeah, I get that. But, like, you know, then there's the other thing. Folks come to see you like, hey, man, I just want to learn how to do this particular thing a lot better. I would prefer that it's not raining. I was like, you and me both. But we're both stuck in it. So let's do the best we can, and then blah, blah, blah. And but that guy will still go back and tell somebody, hey, man, I went this thing. And, we had to suffer through this stuff, and I get it. And but, yeah, I think it's applicable to whatever group or whatever thing you're trying to accomplish.
I think it's a tool. I think it's a valid tool that, being miserable in something makes it more, being miserable doing something makes it more memorable.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Which helps lock that thing in. Mm-hmm. Like if today wasn't so rainy, I don't think I'd look back as fondly at it, even though we're only a few hours out of it. Going like, okay, well, I'm sitting here like goofing off a little bit with my buddies, singing stupid Creed songs. But the reason it's fun,
it's like the one Creed, like he says songs plural. It's the same one over and over.
I tried singing other ones, but it always came back.
I don't know any of the words.
Higher.
Yeah, I kept trying to go to what's that? What's the other Creed song?
With open arms.
With arms wide open.
That
with
one.
Arms wide open.
Same
My
song.
Sacrifice.
Same song. Same one.
Same you. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you put it very well that it's a tool. But it's like for me, it's raining. I didn't have a rain jacket on. I was just glad it wasn't hot. I was enjoying being cold for a little bit in Florida.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah. I just thought it was because it rhymed, raining and training.
Yeah. It's a cool thing to say.
You had to say it because you're going to be in it either way. Like, you might as well think up some cool thing.
Might as well try to enjoy it.
like no one wants to be that guy up here to be, the hump guy. If you've ever been on a long hike or hump or whatever. And there's always that one dude that's like especially hurting really bad. And they're like, all right, this sucks, but at least I ain't that guy. Mm-hmm. And then, and that varies from hump to hump, So they all suck, but for somebody, it's a lot worse.
Yeah. And the thing I always thought is, at least I'm not in the safety vehicle right now. Like I'm going to push through it.
What's the safety vehicle?
So when you're in the military, you're doing a long hike, there's a vehicle back there for someone can't do it. They're broken.
Oh, okay.
Throw them in that. And believe it or not, the guys who talk the most shit will just get in there so they don't have to hike.
Of course.
Dude, I didn't even know that was a thing until.
Is that a new core thing?
I didn't know. Like they were like, oh, there's a safety vehicle. And I kept looking around. I was like, where is this? Was there a truck? Okay, they're like messing with the new guy, I was like, oh, he's looking for the thing, that doesn't exist. And I was like, who gets in this thing? Like, where's that guy going?
How do I get a ticket?
Yeah. I didn't even know that was an option.
What's the next one?
Okay, so I did reach out to the bulletin community on Facebook, put up a weekly discussion topic on what are your favorite the way I worded it was, what are the sacred cows that you adhere to or that you've seen people adhering to in the firearms world? And there's so many. Mm-hmm. You know what the number one category though was? Shotguns.
Yeah.
Really?
People are weird about shotguns, man.
Yeah, you don't have to aim them.
Oh, okay. So that's the first one that came up. Do you have to aim a shotgun?
Yes.
It would help.
It certainly would. They put sights on them.
You ain't got a lot of shells in there.
Yeah.
Dude, the worst part about that one is the people I've heard it come from. People who you're like, oh, you were, you did all this police training, you were SWAT, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, yeah, I don't have to aim a shotgun. I'm like, holy fuck, why do I talk to you?
Who trained you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what about, if you don't have to aim them? Well, it's probably because you don't have to shoot them in the first place, right? Like just racking it makes the bad guys go away.
Have you seen the video I did on that?
No.
I'll show you after. I did a skit. If you could put a link to it or something. That'd be cool.
Sure.
But Ashley's in it, and that's the whole premise of the skit is racking the shotgun will make the bad guy go away. Now, what I say is, well, if it were like you or one of us who was the bad guy, we know you suck because your gun's not loaded, and we know where you are.
So I just have to wait for them to do it 5 more times. I was like, I'll go ahead and come on in.
Yeah. Well, or they're really good at it. They're like, oh shit, I'm going to need a slug to punch through this door.
Man,
and they're changing loads.
I think you're on to something. So we just have that empty one to accentuate our dialogue, and then there's the loaded one right there.
Yes. No, it's okay to have a decoy shotgun.
Yeah, exactly.
That's okay.
You baited them in,
but that one should also be loaded. Like you should have rounds in it, but you should just rack them. And so that you can get rounds to put into your shotgun, into the fighting shotgun.
I'm getting confused.
Yeah, like instead of keeping rounds in like a shotgun chest rig.
Oh, you just unload
you
one
keep them
gun
in another shotgun.
Yeah,
it's true for safety.
Yeah, well, for the sound effect of it.
So that second one, you should aim that one.
Yeah, the second one is all for
straight up aim
delivering the hate to people. The first one's just the Joe Biden gun that goes the
sure,
and it stores all your ammo.
Well, that's a double barrel. You just fire 2 blasts in the air.
Yeah,
which is probably more effective.
Yeah, just stand out on your back porch and just blast it off into the air. He'll go away. I don't know about that. Well, what about a myth related to that too? Shotguns, the perfect beginner's long gun.
Wrong.
Why would that be?
Well, I mean, that's what people say, right? They're easy. You don't have to aim them. And most likely, if you hold it, somebody will just run away in terror.
Oh, same guy who said that you don't have to aim it also said that it doesn't malfunction. Okay.
Well, sure. Like, you never shoot it. It never malfunctions, I guess. But
yeah. But let's explore that one for a second, because I may not be so quick to dismiss it. Are shotguns good for beginners? Somebody who hasn't really put time or devotion into say training with a semi-auto rifle yet.
And it depends. It depends on who's helping them out. And
yeah, well that's absolutely true.
I'm probably the weirder at the table. Like I do like shotguns. I like old, like vintage shotguns, like that old exposed hammer shotgun, like from the Wild Bunch. Like I love that thing. Like I'm on Tim right now to get me one.
Yeah, come on, Tim.
I know, Tim. Come on, bro.
Why?
Like, be a bro.
Yeah.
No, he's a good dude. But
what's that one that Tim has that fires when you're like if you keep your finger on the trigger and you're firing?
A musket.
The musket.
That's what he had. No. no. He's got it's the high standard.
I remember he broke it out in, I took fighting shotgun with him.
Yeah.
Which is, you should absolutely take if you ever have the opportunity.
If you hate a shotgun, you should take that.
Yeah.
Because you might gain a respect for it. And,
definitely not gain any respect for Tim. No.
Yeah.
That's hard to do.
Sure. Yeah. But no. But if you don't know, and if that's the only thing you got, then great, man. Grab that and some handful of shot shells and different kind of stuff. And
yeah, I think it's
slugs
the most
and things. Yeah,
I think it's one of the most versatile guns you can have for sure. Like,
I'll agree with that.
If you can only have one thing in the end times, and it's like, oh, what do you have? Could you put it to use in different ways? Sure. I'd still rather have a semi-auto rifle.
Dude, me too. But some people are.
Well, if you had $350 to put towards your fighting long gun, a Maverick 88 and some ammo is like your only option, So there's a place for that. But like I've also seen it where like, woman brings a 12 gauge up to the line and like when I was BRSOing and can you show me how to do this? And I'm like, yep, make sure you load into it. There's going to be a lot of recoil, and I demonstrate with her gun and she sees how much it moves me back. And when she does it, she's like, damn, I hate that. And I'm like, yep, here, try this. And I hand her one of my rifles. And she's like, that's so much nicer. And it's like, her dad, who was a cop, told her to buy it.
Oh,
and,
of course, yeah.
Sure.
And I'm like, and she's like, I'm like, yep. this would be the thing you should probably sell that for, to get this, because you're going to enjoy shooting this more. Like, so you're more likely to practice with it, and you're probably going to be better with it. Because like Jaeger used to say, that a shotgun is more of a master's weapon. There's more stuff involved in it.
Oh, I think there's way more nuance needed for, like, you need to understand how the patterns work. I mean, the fact that it can handle different loads, like, shotgun versus birdshot versus, buckshot versus birdshot versus a slug.
Yep.
Even the different types of slugs that are available. Are you going to do a magnum slug, you're going to have light reload shotgun shells? Like, dude, the variety is incredible. Like, again, coming to the versatility, but to really be able to use that and exactly what you needed to, you need to have a mastery of it that I don't think a lot of people respect.
Well, I think one thing, like, you have, when we say mastery, like, you have to arrive at a Zen point where you say, like, I just don't care.
Yeah.
And like a Bruce Lee type thing, a kick is just a kick, a punch is just a punch. And a gun is just a gun. Like, at the end of the day, we're just shooting a gun.
Yeah.
And but I think one of the things probably synonymous with a shotgun is recoil. Like, one of the first things people say, like, it recoils. Like, well, all of them do, to an extent.
Sure.
Like, they have to. Like, that's
how it works.
That's how it works. It has to have recoil in order for it to work. Like, you're not going to tame it or mitigate it or remove it completely or whatever. Well, I mean, I guess you could tame it, but at the risk of the gun not working anymore.
Yep.
And so it has to have some of that. So, just like in your brain, be prepared for that, and just like get to a point where you just don't care. And so in that vein, maybe not a beginner type thing, because you could look at it two ways, two sides of the coin. If you shot a 12 gauge a bunch and then you got a hold of an AR type gun, you're like, oh shoot, this thing is like great, this is nothing. But then if you flip side of that, you're like, oh man, it's gonna suck. All I've ever done is this 22 caliber rifle, and yes, it's a 22 caliber. And sometimes a lot of people ask me, like, well, how do you get past the recoil of this gun over that gun? And I was like, well, I just remind myself it's a gun. And they call them small arms for a reason.
Yeah.
Small arms. And it's like, oh, that doesn't sound bad at all, does it? And I was like, yeah, it's not. I mean, so, but unfortunately, and I think it's been stated before, but like, people have been kind of turned off by it because they're like, all right, well, let's trick him and we'll throw a slug in here and watch it, bounce them and then laugh at them and stuff like that. I was like, that's not necessarily a professional way to come at this.
No.
And I'll say, well, I'll let them put the slug in there and, worry more about things like sights, aiming, give them something real to worry about other than the stupid recoil, because it's going to happen. Yeah. Might as well just get over it. And so if it knocks you back, you step forward and run the action. If it's a manual, and you do it again.
I do think though, there's for specifically like ladies, if they're not into guns yet, and then that's like kind of their introduction, it's a little bit scary. Yeah. It's intimidating, and and
even
like
for dudes, some dudes it is.
Yeah.
They won't say it, but it is.
Yeah, I definitely rattled my teeth quite a bit, got quite a bit of headaches doing way of the shotgun, not to discourage anyone, just
I was such an idiot the first time I picked up a shotgun. Like, I bought a shotgun. I was like, I didn't know anything about loads, anything about like what different type of shells were out there. And I remember I got on the shelf, there was I think there were 3.5 inch Magnum slugs. I was like,
start there.
Well, those look like I knew what slugs were. I'll just grab those. It says 12 gauge on them.
Yep.
Dude, I went to the range and brought my wife, and Jamie's significantly. Jay's met her. You've probably seen pictures, Andrew. She is significantly smaller than me. And I remember taking a couple shots with that and just going, holy shit. Fuck. Just like getting my shoulder blown apart. I'm like,
yep.
These are the only things I got. Like,
right.
You sure you want to try this thing? And then she's never picked up the shotgun. It's like, like my shotgun, my 12 gauge Mossberg, 40-foot long musket. Like the thing is huge. And I think that's the other barrier to entry to most shotguns is like, they make them real long for whatever purpose, like duck guns.
To reach the bird.
Oh, yeah.
And,
well, she probably said, you were right. 3.5 is still a Magnum.
Do they be more like 1.5? I need low recoils.
No one caught my muzzle offset joke. Where like how far lower is that? And it was like 3 inches. I'm like, oh, it looks about 9 inches to me.
That's what I tell my wife.
Yeah, you're not allowed in Subway anymore.
But so shotguns was definitely the biggest. The biggest category. I mean, there were a few more too. Like, this is my favorite. Oh, by the way, I want to give a shout out to Buell Collins. I think we all know Buell. Right?
Yep.
He was one of the ones that gave a few of these myths. Like, they just started shotgun. Well, they started shotgunning the suggestions on shotguns. And of course, a good friend of ours, Zach Bush, who is coming down here to Florida. I think, right?
Yep. He's going to be at Aries. I'm going to be taking his shotgun class and his pistol class.
I just took his shotgun class. It is awesome.
Good stuff. When is that? Anybody know right off the top of your head?
I got it on my phone. I'll get it to you.
For anybody listening, and if they're interested, you can find it on Bulletin. Zach's one of the trainers on the platform. So whatever the date is, you can find it on there. But it's this year. I think it's in the next month or 2 months or so. But I just took his class over the fall, and it was awesome. And man, it was so good seeing him. He really pushed the shotgun thing. He owns it, right?
He actually covers one of the myths from what Max told me in his class about them not being drop safe.
That's exactly what I was going to move into.
Yeah, because from what Max told me, he has like a round in there that's basically like a blank, I guess. And he's like, hey, try to make this thing go off, by smacking it.
So the whole block he has, like he puts down a hard surface, has the shotgun blank shell with a primer in it, and drops it, throws it, slams it on the ground. Obviously, it's quote unquote safe because it's not gonna expel anything from it. The primer will go off, so we keep it in a safe direction. But he's just like hammering that thing. Yeah. And not once has he ever, according to him, ever had any of the hammers actually fall off.
Even with old shotguns.
I don't know if he's done it with every single shotgun.
Right.
But we're talking like the modern guns that he's that he's using in class.
Wait a second. Does that mean I can also keep my gun loaded?
Well, okay. So that was the myth, right? Like, well, shotguns, they're dangerous, right? You have to keep them cruiser ready.
Yeah. I've gotten comments on YouTube saying that it's not I was like, stop unloading my guns because it drives me nuts if someone unloads my gun, because if it's loaded, it's supposed to be loaded, right? And they're like, oh, blah, 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 if it's not drop safe or it's an old gun. I'm like, dude, look, if you have a gun that's not safe to be loaded, fix it or destroy it. Like do something with it. But obviously, I'm also not talking about those. I don't fucking own those.
Right.
So you're saying all the stories about they were putting it over the fence and it went off and killed the brother. Just really a murder.
Or an ND.
No, a murder.
Yeah, it's a murder.
Damn.
No, but there's also...
No wonder the cop knows that.
I think that might even stem from all those stories of it was just in the car. And I don't know how the the buckshot pattern wound up in the ceiling of the squad car.
Dude,
Maybe
must have been an acorn hit.
Yeah, the acorn.
I'm hit. It bit me. I'm hit. Watch out. Gotta roll.
Man, that thing's gonna. I hope that lives on forever. We have guests or a guest. He's just
Bring drinks into the bathroom.
well. If that cup comes out more full than when it went in,
Yeah,
And
it's gonna be
warmer.
in there.
we know Gary's into some weird shit.
No, that's I like the nostalgic part of the shotgun too. Like it's also too, man, if and I get it, man, like, I've carried a rifle for a long, long time, but like in the movies or whatever, like dude walks in with a shotgun, like he came to get down.
Yeah,
Like like what's up. And I kind of dig that.
yeah. They don't make shotgun dudes in movies like the wimp. Like they're the hard charger.
Right.
Like who was the one who had the shotgun in Predator?
That is
Billy?
Billy.
Yeah, he had the underbarrel
Yep.
shotgun, right? Like that dude was hardcore.
Like he had a shotty attached to the rifle.
Right.
Sonny
Just-
Landis.
Yeah. They had a bodyguard for that guy to keep him from beating everybody else up.
Really?
Yeah, the
not
insurance
to
company required it.
Yeah, not to protect Sonny. It was for him to stop beating everyone else up.
Because he was way cooler than the dude with 2 MP5s who looked like Ryan Stiles from Whose Line Is It Anyway? I don't know who that guy actually was.
That was Carl Weathers.
Carl
Yeah,
Weathers.
and Carl. And
Carl Weathers had 2
yeah.
MP5? Who was
At one point, yes.
Who was the thin white dude? The tall dude with... I thought he had the 2 MP5s.
The combo
Blaine, I
dude.
think.
The camo dude?
I think it was Blaine.
Yeah,
Come
man.
on. Come go use the bathroom.
I'm going to bed.
Oh, you're going to bed.
Hello, so good night, sir.
No, that's not allowed.
I left my drink in the bathroom.
Oh, he left his drink.
No, it was funny because we were watching Predator that night, and then the next day, Carl Weathers died.
Oh, man.
And I was like, dude, I just watched one of his right arms go down shooting
Yeah.
MP5.
Just the one arm. Yeah.
Just the one arm. It hit him like,
Yep.
and it went down. His one arm went down fighting, and I was like, hell yeah.
I hope just part of me even matches that in some way.
It's exactly how you would have wanted to go.
That was the other idea that you pitched for the podcast is like, hey, we should watch Predator and then talk about it as we're going through.
Yeah. Well, I want to basically do a video where we cover when it's acceptable to break the 4 rules.
Oh yeah, we should do. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's parts in there where it would be.
Yes.
But-
yeah, we can go into a whole
Yeah.
discussion about the 4 rules.
Let's hit the next one.
But shotguns. Actually,
I want to find a way for us to go back to one rule.
Yeah. Well, there is only really one rule.
Nah, we need to be headed back for that. But
let me ask you a question. Follow up on the shotgun thing. Is there, and it doesn't have to be just shotguns, is there an acceptable time for cruiser ready?
Yeah, man. Okay, I don't like the thing where you dry fire it so the pump will move, like that, the full cruiser ready thing, so that it's like there's nothing in the chamber. Then you dry fire it so you can pick it up and run the action, because there's a chance that number one, you'll fucking ND when you do that.
Sure.
And also, I've had it where, I did that, and then when I pull the gun out and I go to pump it, well, guess what? It was locked up at the front anyway. So why don't I just hit the damn button and pump it
Yeah.
like I can, like you do.
I would say if there's somebody that doesn't know like where all the buttons are, because sometimes it's in the front, sometimes it's in the back, sometimes all that stuff. And I was like, especially, like people say, well, this is my home defense gun or whatever. And I was like, all right, check it out. Like point it at them, press the trigger. If it doesn't work, run the pump slide, whatever, press it again. Because they were going to shoot him anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it opened the action. And I was like, look, if we got to get down to like making it just that simple, that's like the intent was when they picked it up was to shoot them.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's not negligent at that point.
Well,
And so somebody says, well, like everything would have to be present, intent, ability, opportunity, all that stuff. You'd have to check all that deadly force criteria before you do that. And then at least in my case, and probably you guys, for you guys that carry a hate sack or what was the other one? Slightly annoyed bag.
No. Mild discontent bag.
Mild discontent. Get out of my lane bag or whatever. Or something. Use your turn signal bag. Like that. But
bright flashlights and flare guns.
If you if you got the hate sack, and there's a gun in there and there's other items in there that could find their way into a trigger, then that might be that would be a case for like a cruiser ready. If you don't know what cruiser ready is, it's no round in the chamber, whatever source of ammunition it is, tubular magazine, a detachable box magazine, so on.
Yeah. So essentially all you have to do is run the action, whatever the action is.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden you have a gun. A live gun.
Because I've taken my rifle out of my vehicle and been like, the safety is not on, and it's because it got bumped around.
Yeah.
Sure.
So totally acceptable to take a round out of the chamber for that, And also, if you have kids and you want to do a thing, like first off, your kids shouldn't be getting at your guns when you're not there. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, if you want to do an extra thing to make your gun quote unquote safer for your kids, do whatever the fuck you want to,
Right.
Yeah.
I think the term, another term I've heard it called is transport mode.
Mm-hmm.
And
dynamic.
Well, I mean, you put the dynamic in there, but transport mode. So we're just traveling from A to B or whatever. Like one of the things I detest though is like completely rendering it inert because you have to drive through a certain area, and it's like, well, I have to drive, near a state that rhymes with New Jersey or something like that, and
I see people do it.
I'm like,
even
bro,
though they don't go to those places.
Right. And all it was like they heard a guy who told a story about another guy, and then something happened. I was like, well, what was that Jacktar doing? Like speeding, child trafficking, drug smuggling. Don't do that.
Yeah.
And if you're doing any of that, don't speed.
Right.
Because you're going to get pulled over.
Well, I know dudes that carry a gun on them every day loaded. Yet when they go to the range, or just go I brought my rifle with me, it's empty in the case in the back. I'm like, why? Well, I mean, that it's safer that I'm like, you're carrying a gun on your hip, man. Like that one's loaded.
Did you wear your seatbelt here?
Right. And you know what I think part of it too is like just exposure. Some people just don't get exposed to the idea of when I started hanging with guys like us, it was like, oh yeah, for us it's totally normal to roll around with a loaded rifle in the footwell of the passenger side of a car.
Right.
And I'm like, that was insane to me. I'm like, that I could do that?
Right.
And now it's just like, oh, that's just what I do.
Yeah. It's a cultural thing, and normalization needs to happen for it to be more common.
I don't have very many pet peeves, but one of them is like, we're already like at a range. We've already done some exercises, shooting related exercises. And at the immediately following the last trigger press, someone will reach up and yank the magazine out in a rapid and walk around with it. Or I'm like, what is that? What? It's like, well, I don't want to get yelled at. I was like, by who?
Yeah.
I'm running this thing. And it's like, well, I don't want the old dude with the red hat to yell at me. I was like, nobody cares what that dude has to say.
He does.
Yeah. Right. Well,
he might very much what he has to say.
But so like if that ever happened, I'd like remind him that like, you're just here to mow the grass. Like nobody asked you what you have to say.
My biggest pet peeve is right along the same lines. It's what happens immediately after they get used to that. Hey, I'm done. Let me remove that magazine. I've seen it so many times at classes where a dude will like just be switched on all day, be really good, gun handling, safe, and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And then they walk over to their car, they unload that gun,
and you hear it.
Yeah.
You hear it.
And all of a sudden you look over and they just sweep every single person in the class with that gun. And it may or may not be loaded, but it doesn't matter because we treat all guns as if they're loaded. So like that switch of mindset happens in the walk to the car where, okay, I'm going to take this thing out and it's going in a rifle case. In between the hands and the rifle case, all of a sudden it becomes the most dangerous implement known to man.
Right.
Yeah, and that's one thing I have to compliment you on is the way you told everyone at the end of the day yesterday, hey, just because it's the end of the class, we're putting guns away doesn't mean that everything we did today you don't have to do anymore. You have to still follow the 4 rules.
Right.
And I've seen that a million times.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's good. I think that was phrased really well. Yeah. And it used to bother me. It probably still does, but at the end of the training thing, day, 2 days, whatever, and I give them this little pep talk or speech about how you are your first responder, and like you are the one that you are the one that saves you. Like everybody else shows up after the fact, after you call them. I know some people will say when somebody calls them. I said, no, when you call them.
Right.
And and as I'm saying that, there's a guy looking me dead in the eye and he's stripping the rounds out of the magazine. And then I ask him, I said, what are you doing? And he's like, I have to drive through X, Y, Z. Yeah. And then they'll tell me like what a terrible place it is to live and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, that sounds like the place you would want those bullets in there.
Mm-hmm. That used to be me. Mm-hmm. Like I was that guy.
Sure.
In classes that you taught. Like,
and it's a conditioning thing, and it kind of makes me a little, disappointed in us as a whole. And I was like, are we that beat down that we submit to that so easily? There's on the scale of, on the radar, the scale of things that could happen. Get in trouble for this, maybe get yelled at, and then murdered.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like murdered's not even there.
Yeah. It's almost, we way outweigh the getting yelled at over the murdered.
And I'm like, dude, like you've been yelled at a lot before. There's been some kind of punitive thing. You've gone to court. I'll tell you guys just a thing. I don't know, but hopefully it's applicable. But I'm in Northern Illinois. We're doing a pistol class, and there's actually a judge in class. And some other, and I don't know why it always has to be an old dude, but it is. And well, not always, but sometimes it is. Jaeger used to make fun of me. It's like, if there's an old dude in there, like Jay's going to end up like breaking his back or something or whatever. I've never killed anybody, by the way. Just anyway. So I said, we're breaking for lunch. Please stay armed and be careful, please. Yeah. Like don't speed, that kind of stuff. Like all the stuff you would do to be careful and remain armed. And old guy came over and patted me on the shoulder. He's like, Sonny, and I love it because almost like I was trying to trick everyone. It's like I'm gonna trick you into saving your life. And he patted me on the shoulder. He goes, Sonny, do you know what kind of trouble I'd be in if whoever they is, I don't know who you are, but if they caught me with this on? And I said, I don't know. And I looked over and said, hey, Judge, what the deal? And he's like, he yanks out his phone and he says, something, Class B misdemeanor, $200 fine or something like that. He said, I'd throw it out. And I looked at the guy and I go, well, and he thought about it. I was like, we're almost there. Almost got him. And then he goes, well, I still ain't doing it. Like, you almost had me. You and that judge guy, like you almost tricked me. And I was like, damn, man, what does it take? Like, what is it?
Dude, right there. It's so we've all seen it in class where specifically I've seen it with women. It takes something real happening to them to get them there. That's why they own that gun, or that's why they're in a training class now. Okay, think about how many more students there were during the riots compared to now. It's because people are going, fuck, I could be getting dragged down my car and having my head kicked in on the pavement. Like, I watched a dude on video get mobbed by like 10 people. And I swear, like, he looked like he was twisted, shit was broken. And, if you watch something like that and you know that it's happening in your friend's town or whatever, and you know it's happening in the next state or the city over, you know it could happen to you. But then we go back to a normalcy bias when it's not happening. Right. And that creates complacency. Right. So
that happens other places.
Yeah. And we all become complacent to some degree or another. We all have things about ourselves that we know is wrong and we have to fix. And there's some things we're not aware of yet. So for like something like that, someone unloading their gun, not carrying their gun, it's not real to them. Okay. They have some idea of, okay, let me learn how to shoot this thing. Let me figure out what this tactical stuff is about, but it's not real to them yet.
Right. But on the topic of safety, it's like that's your one of your main concerns. Like, you should learn how to operate that device, and you should become accustomed to having that in a ready condition on your person or near you. If you're not ready to carry, or you're in a thing where you don't or choose not to or whatever. I purposely didn't use the word can't because you can, but you may choose not to. So that is becoming safer with it. Like, the more you are conditioned to be comfortable with that, I got a compliment, Jerry Nuss, a long time ago. He did a class, or a long time ago for me anyway. He said, drill number one was to load your rifle and just walk around with it. Yeah. And not do it and not do anything. So I was kidding around with him. I said, for 99% of you, this will be a non-shooting exercise. And they all look around like, who does he mean? I was like, I don't know. We'll see. And,
usually the one with the eyes that go,
yeah.
The real surprised.
But he just had him walk around with it. And then I thought, wow, that's actually genius. Because now, because it's a weird thing with dudes, man, with guns. Like, everyone, in some cases, they want to be the first one to do something. Yeah. And then in some cases, they don't want to be the first guy to do a particular thing. And, and they figure, well, I'll get in, not do a whole lot, not get yelled at for being a safety violator or whatever. I'll get the cert and I'm out of here. Like, that's my goal. And well, if that's your goal, dude, like, bro, it's a piece of paper. It's what was the phrase? I stole it from you at I think it was you at the mustard. Yeah, I said I think you have the $900 notebook. I had to add an extra zero on there, so I wasn't like completely plagiarizing them.
You should. I give you full permission.
I said the $9,000 notebook is more important than the $1.50 certificate that's hanging on the wall. And I said, yeah, it's good. So, but anyway, if you're just there to get the cert, I think you're there for the wrong reason. And, but I thought that was amazing that he thought of that, like just load that thing and just walk around with it and just do like just regular, like just 9 to 5 type stuff.
Which really does play into the kind of starting point of this part of the conversation of, oh, well, cruiser ready, right? Like, okay, well, it's safer that way. Well, that's relative.
Yes and no.
Yes and no. It depends on the situation that it's in. What about, moving away from shotguns? Thank you, Joe Rajewski, by the way, for that awesome question or suggestion of a myth. But I have one to kind of move into, which I think is pretty much the same answer, but Israeli carry. Same thing, right? But with a pistol. Is there room for Israeli carry?
No.
Well, define the word carry.
Well, okay, so let me define it. Israeli carry, meaning I'm going to carry a gun in a holster on my body with no round in the chamber.
If it's the only way to put a gun on your body when you go out in public, whatever, it's not the right answer though.
It depends. Like, I'm not ready to totally rule it out. It wouldn't be my first choice, but if it's a situation where you could easily be knocked out, choked out, and swarmed, and then someone get the gun off of you, pointed at you, press the trigger. So that might be one of the first concerns. However, if you're unconscious, they got that amount of time to figure out how to move the slide and load the gun and point it at you and press trigger. Like, if murder is their intent, then eventually they'll get around.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
They probably don't even know need the gun to do it.
Sure.
Exactly.
But if it's something like you just acquired it and you don't know the manual of arms, you don't know how to put it into a carry mode, you don't have a holster.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's
that type of
that
thing.
could be good.
If you got to just throw it in a bag,
or stick it in your waistband.
I just consider that cruiser ready, same thing.
It's same
so
thing.
we're back to that, but so it would depend on what your situational would be. A situation would dictate that, and then I have to. I kind of stole this from Super Dave, but he told me, he said, dude, everywhere I've been in the world where I was carrying a gun, and by the time I got down to a speed draw, it was too late. I walked into something I should have never.
You had a whole bunch of opportunity to
Right.
make that situation better before drawing the gun.
And he said, so holster, no holster, whatever. He said, if the hair on my back of my neck stood up, I just took the gun out.
Yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily a speed draw or anything like that. And I was like, yep, I'm there, bro. Like, I was like, if you think you need it, just go ahead and take it out. And if it wasn't in a ready condition, like, make that happen, like, now.
Yeah.
And so there's a sliver of time where that could be applicable.
I agree.
But
Doesn't have to be an absolute.
doesn't have to be an absolute. And using the Israelis as an excuse to do that is, I think that's not, because I don't think you fully understand, like, why you're doing it. And
I don't keep a $20 bill in one of the chambers of my gun. Oh no.
oh no,
Hold on. We're going to take a quick break. The camera stopped working. Hold on. And we're back. Sorry for the quick break, folks. We had a little bit of technical difficulties and we needed a bio break, conveniently. Yes. So where were we? We were talking about some myths, right? Some Israeli carry.
Israeli
is
carry.
where we ended off. And I think that was a great discussion. We had a lot of good points on that one.
One thing people don't understand too, I think, that are proponents of Israeli carry, like they support it, is the U.S. military does that too. Like,
Sure.
on base, they don't have a round in the chamber.
If they even let you have a gun, right?
Yeah, but like when I was in Afghanistan, like when you're in Camp Leatherneck, you're supposed to be condition 3, so that's Israeli carrying your rifle.
You sure?
And then you have to check it before you go into any building and double check that it's unloaded and press the trigger for no reason, stuff like that.
That's not
it's that.
I'm surprised they even let you have magazines.
it's just postponing your negligent discharge.
Yeah.
We're just rescheduling. Every time you do that, you're just rescheduling.
Well, I'm also to put a point on, like, my thoughts on Israeli carry and even what we were talking about with cruiser ready and all that stuff. I'm not a fan of incorporating the idea of training to the least common denominator into like what we do.
And that's what it is.
Yeah, it's just saying, like, okay, so the military has to accept everyone. It has to create a program that's made for, that'll work for every single person. And I get it. They have challenges they have to do, but I don't like the idea of incorporating just military or traditional doctrine, if you will, the sacred cows, the things that we wanted to talk to tonight.
The way we always did it.
Yeah, the way we always did it into what we do, because I'm a big fan of the term critical thinking, especially in modern firearms training. And I don't think there's enough of it. And I think that the antithesis of it is, well, that's how it's been done.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, I found odd as a young Marine in the 90s, they sent us to civilian shooting schools. I thought, this is odd. Like, why would you do that? Like, it seemed like we would be one of the original, like, rod and reel gun clubs,
Yeah.
But I get it. Like, they like, this is all they do. It's like they know stuff about that gun that, like, most of us don't have the time to appreciate because you got a bunch of other stuff to do. And then you were talking about conditions and stuff in theater. When I worked in Iraq, for example, some of the guys from the United Kingdom, and I get it, it's not really a gun culture anymore, but they used to use the charging of the gun to accentuate their challenging of an unknown person approaching their post. And I said, well, in a place like Buckingham Palace, that might be applicable. Here, not so much. A place like Baghdad, during those days, that was not like you were being attacked. Like, and I it's a thing that I've been saying here recently. It's like the bad guys are not interested in safety. They aren't doing the things that we're doing and insisting that other people do under the guise of safety. I'm not saying dispense it. I'm saying you should be responsible with your gun and understand this thing is meant to hurt people. In the wrong hands, you'll hurt the wrong people. But the bad guys showed up here to hurt you with this. Safety is not their primary concern. I said, so they would, my point is this, they would use it as to accentuate their, like, they see an unknown person, point the gun at them, stop or I'll fire. They continue to proceed because they don't speak English, more than likely.
Like they do.
Like you do. And so they'd charge the gun up and they'd say, okay, this time I'm serious, stop or I'll fire. I was like, well, that dude just started shooting.
Yeah. Like
typically, it's a Allah Akbar and then a bunch of things explode. Right. Nothing good comes after Allah Akbar. Nothing. And someone's getting their head sawed off or something. A car is going to start flipping through the air. That's about to happen. Oh. And so my point in all that is like, in a weird way, I think we need to get a little more like the bad dudes.
Yeah.
And
we need to get a little more real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, what is? Do you guys remember? What was that MTV show? The one where they put like a bunch of people in
Real World.
Real World. Mm-hmm. It's like it's time to stop getting polite and start getting real. Like,
is that really what they would say?
That was like the opening intro.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, the most I know about that show is from the Dave Chappelle skit, and I tried watching the show. I was like, nah, Dave Chappelle did.
I probably watched
that is better. So everything Chappelle does.
There was a couple of seasons of Real World that were interesting. Like they do it in a different spot every year. Like the first year it was in like New York, and then they had one in Chicago and Seattle and New Orleans. I remember watching the New Orleans one because I'm a fan of New Orleans. But actually I was more a fan of Road Rules. I don't know if you guys remember that one. So like at the same time, this is total off sidetrack of this conversation. So Real World was like, hey, we're going to put a bunch of people into a house, keep them in one location. Road Rules was we're going to fill a Winnebago with 6 like 6 people, 3 girls and 3 guys, and we're gonna move them around the country, make them do road trips, and then do cool stuff. Like they're gonna go rappelling and skydiving and like mud running, and I'm like that sounds way more cooler. But yeah, so I don't know. It was a pretty interesting show.
Yeah.
We should do that with guns. We should do a road rules with like road tripping around the country, doing cool shit with trainers around the country.
That would be cool.
That'd be a lot of fun. So we've kind of dabbled in the sacred cows of safety, right?
No, we haven't. We dabbled, but
Dabbled.
There's big ones.
There's more. There's more. Well, okay. So what do you got?
All right. So my one that I hate, and it's kind of along with what we were talking about with at the end of class.
Yep.
Right. So I made a video, stop unloading my fucking guns. Right?
Oh yeah, unloading guns.
And I love that video. And I actually brought some people who talk shit on that video in the comments. Then I made a few more videos, and they would read all my comments, and they're like, you know what? I get what you're saying now. So at the end of class, it'd be like the end of a 2-day rifle class. And I'd be like, yeah, man. And you may want to just try out a higher optic or this light or whatever. And so I'd be like, yeah, check it out. And I hand them a rifle.
And
that's
they
loaded.
unload it.
Yep. And they start unloading. I go, what the fuck are you doing? They're like, well, I need you first. Like, or I always check. I'm like, even when I started saying, hey, this is loaded. I want you to leave it loaded. Leave the magazine in there. Leave the bolt exactly where it is. And they'd be like, they'd still press check. And I go, what the fuck? I always check. I'm like, dude, because it drives me nuts because that's loaded because it's in a condition of readiness so that if I have to pull it out and shoot bad guys with it, it's ready. I don't want you to mess with that at all.
Yeah.
And I think it's super disrespectful to mess with it too. Like,
okay.
I think so. But anyways.
Well, let me ask you a question. Are you more annoyed with the fact that you then have to do more work, or are you annoyed with the fact that your student doesn't agree with what you, like the procedure that you think should happen when you hand it to them?
That's a good question. I'd have to think about that more, to be honest. But I would I like the discussion. Yeah.
I'm not an absolutist.
Yeah.
I try not to be in any instance.
Yeah. Only Siths are absolutes.
only Siths are absolutes,
which is an absolute statement.
So, I learned, probably from some of my first tactical response classes, if you pick something up, like it's your responsibility to make sure that you know what the condition is. Now, granted, they knew, because you handed them a loaded rifle or you told them. But should we trust people when they tell us that something is in a certain way, or is it our responsibility to make sure? And I'm only challenging you on this because I know you're very passionate about it.
And that's the thing that people brought up in the comments is they're like, I want to know the condition. Mm-hmm. That's fine. Okay.
That's fine.
But if I said there is around the chamber, that magazine is loaded, it's loaded, don't mess with it, you shouldn't fucking press check it. Because looking through the optic, feeling that grip, that stock, trying that light, any of that shit, if it doesn't require pressing the trigger, it doesn't matter what's in the chamber. It should be treated as if it's loaded.
I agree.
And
none of that requires pressing the trigger.
Nope.
Right. And so if, to me, it's irritating on that level. Like, that's just disrespectful that you just did the thing I told you not to do, and you're putting a thing on it, and all you're doing is checking out the optic or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So that the thing that annoys me most with it is the mindset in that, where I'm like, dude, you just had a loaded rifle on you for 2 days. You did some stuff that would make some people freak out, and it wasn't anything crazy. Okay. But like, it would make some people freak out. Yeah. And I trust you a lot.
Yep.
Okay. So you unloading it is like, you are not trusting yourself to just look through an optic or try out a light or try this sling or whatever the thing is.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I completely agree with you. Like, if I just spent 2 days in a class, like teaching people, like, hey, this is like, you trying to imbue them with the confidence of holding a loaded rifle, and then I felt like they unloaded something because they didn't feel like they were comfortable with it being loaded, I would be disappointed too.
I am just disgusted with the idea that the default position would be to unload it.
Sure.
Like if you didn't know, they would immediately start unloading it. And then somewhere in their mind or in their statement that they would make later, it's like, well, we might arrive at a point where I would load it and keep it loaded.
Sure.
It's like, but a few people would die before you got there.
Yeah.
That's already happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those people are already gone.
Mm-hmm.
What are you waiting for?
And
Like you've already seen all the things you may not have personally witnessed it, but it did happen to someone like you.
Yeah.
And it's like what are you waiting for? And it's also like permeates into people that like we consider to be like people who, come to the rescue or press the fight or that type of thing. Like Joe's on a base in a foreign place. They'll plan a mission for days or weeks leading up to this, and then there will be like, okay, now we're going to get the guns. Now we're going to drive over to the berm and we're going to load them up, and then we're going to go outside the wire. When we come back in, we'll do that in reverse,
right,
and stand down from that. So they've been conditioned that there's going to be several steps leading up to the point where I'm ready to, like now I've become, this, war machine. Mm-hmm. The bad guys show up already shooting.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's the indicator that they're bad people.
Yeah.
They're already shooting at
I guarantee you those guys are not going back to their cave.
Right.
And
unloading,
like putting their guns unloaded into an arsenal.
There's not a rifle rack in there.
With like a locked door on the safe, like a dude.
They're definitely not doing
whose job it is to log in every single AK that comes in and out of the cave.
Yeah. So like the myth here that I'm getting at is that you have to unload a gun when someone hands it to you or check it.
Unloaded as default is bullshit.
Yep. So if
why isn't loaded a default?
Well, actually, you know what would give me the biggest heart? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Well, let me just hit this. So it's not if I hand it to you that you now need to check it or unload it so you can do something that doesn't require pressing the trigger.
Right.
It's that you need to rule number one, treat every gun as if loaded. And if you follow 4 firearm safety rules, you can do anything.
We need to go to one rule.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what?
You know which one it is.
Yeah. You know what would give me the biggest heart on is if I handed a rifle to a student.
And they racked it?
No. Not even
to make
that.
sure it was loaded?
If they took out another fresh magazine that they knew was loaded, took out my magazine, put one in, racked it, and said, I wasn't sure if it was fully loaded,
right.
So now it is.
But then,
oh my God.
But then you'd have some douche like, what? You don't trust me? You don't think I'm high speed enough?
I wouldn't. I mean, I'm of the mindset of, dude, you just make sure my rifle is ready to go. Like, thank you. Like, that's the biggest, that would be the greatest gift ever.
Right? I wouldn't care unless you slammed a 300 blackout up in that 5.56 gun. If you want a 300 blackout, just buy a fucking AK. Stop it. Stop already.
Yes, thank you.
Fucking douche.
Did you have another safety one? Another safety sacred cow?
Man, I was about to lead into another and we got kind of sidetracked. But okay, so
because I got another category that we can move into other than safety.
I bet we end up back on it.
Yeah, probably because it's a recurring theme.
Okay, I got one. I got it. Okay, so the other comments I would constantly get on those videos was, no one has ever been shot by an unloaded gun. Okay, now hear me out on this.
Okay.
Rule number one is treat every gun as if for loaded. Now I was talking with Lewis because he places Lewis from Tactical Response. He places keep your finger off the trigger as rule number one because that's what makes guns go bang, which is fair. Okay, it's fair. My thing is that most NDs happen and then they say, "I thought it was unloaded." Okay. So my point is that most NDs happen with unloaded guns, as in I thought it was unloaded.
Yep.
And if most if an unloaded gun has never shot anyone, then magazine disconnects would not be a thing on pistols.
Well, okay, let's break it down though, because like I'm a big fan of logic. Like words have meaning. There's definitions of stuff.
Yeah, there's definitions.
So an unloaded gun, nobody has ever been shot by an unloaded gun.
True.
That is it's a factual statement,
Yes.
right? However,
There's no logic.
it's there's no logic to the roundabout way of it trying to kind of catch people is saying, well, that means, or what's the argument? I think it's a straw man argument where it's like, hey, I'm building this thing up of like unloaded guns are safer, or loaded guns are unsafe, and I can knock that down. The straw man argument. But it's false. It's false logic because of the fact that, well, yes, but you could say that about any, like my phone has never shot anybody.
Consider,
because it's an inanimate object that doesn't have the capability to do so.
Consider the number of people that have died because their gun wasn't loaded.
Exactly. That is a stronger argument.
Like nobody, like if I get into a discussion with somebody online, I'll say stuff like carry your gun, save a life. And they're like, well, statistically the numbers are not good enough because you're talking about a life versus, and in their words, they'll say thousands of piles of bodies.
Yeah.
And
Piles.
I was like, well, that's
cubic meters of bodies.
Body mountain.
Yeah, but they're being hyperbolic to try to make a point. And I'll tell them, I say, well, if it's just one, that's good. And they're like, well, one life, that's not enough. I said, well, unless it's yours.
Yeah.
Unless it's you.
Yeah.
Like, what is it? The drowning man will grab at anything, even the person that's trying to save them. Like they'll drown the person that's trying to save them to save themselves. And I was like, so it's like, if you want to come at me with statistics like that, and they'll say, well, where's the good guy with the gun, to stop this shooting or whatever. I was like, they don't report on shootings, mass shootings that don't occur.
Right.
So if it never occurred, probably won't know about it. So there's like, who knows how many those are?
Right.
Because, it didn't happen. Who's recording it? And what's like the comedian said, he's like, what is it? 4 out of 5 rapes go unreported. And he was like, well, what about that one? Like, who reported that one? Like, and how do you know that? How did you compile that data if it goes unreported?
Yeah.
And so
I think the stronger argument, like you can't prove a negative.
Yeah.
And they're trying to do that with the phrase of, well, a loaded gun never shot anybody. Yes, you're correct.
Yeah.
But look at the story of like what goes wrong when your gun isn't loaded, or more likely not with you in the first place. Like Luby's restaurant. Like that is a personal story from, I don't remember the girl's name, where her parents were murdered in the restaurant from the active shooter who, and this was in the 1980s, 90s, early 90s, I think. And Luby's restaurant in Texas, like it was an active shooter came in, shot this girl's parents, and she, like, her testimony in front of Congress was, I wish I broke the laws and I wish I had my gun with me.
Yep.
Because I would have been able to save my parents.
Right.
Yep.
That's an that is as absolute a fact as and who knows if she would have actually been effective at doing it, but it is absolutely true that she wishes she had the capability to do it.
Some rapists and murderers don't care about the laws that you're following.
Right.
Laws that were created by pedophiles for you to follow that do not apply to the people who made them. But go ahead.
No, someone made the statement to me overseas that I'm not. I don't regret the people that I shot. I regret the ones I didn't. Because
that leads to other things.
It could have led to a different thing. And then, is this on? Because I'm.
Oh, you can't hear it?
No, I can't hear you.
Right, let me see if I can turn that up for you a little bit, brother.
But
how about now? Can you hear a little more?
Yeah.
Okay.
I hear you guys. Great.
Okay, great.
Okay.
The point I was making with that one, with no one's been shot with an unloaded gun, also leads into this other myth.
Okay,
right?
another myth. I like it.
So no one's been shot with an unloaded gun. Okay, well, like I said,
Myth proven.
most NDs that I've ever heard of, they always say, I thought it was unloaded. Okay. So why did that happen? That's because they were not treating it as if it were loaded.
True.
And people will say, well, I unload it and then I treat it as if it were loaded. No, you don't.
No, you
Because your
don't.
brain knows the difference.
Yep.
No matter how stupid you are, your brain knows the difference there.
Apparently you didn't, because someone got shot.
Exactly.
I mean,
Sometimes, most of the time, it's them.
Yeah. This is a hot take on the subject of NDs and cleaning a gun. I would wager a guess that 75+% of people who the gun went off when I was cleaning it and shot somebody purposefully meant to shoot somebody and then said I was just cleaning it. That would be my guess.
Yeah. Usually if they do themselves, then they're like, okay, I was behaving like a jackass and I, shot myself in the hand or whatever. But if it was somebody else, that's...
It's really...
who said you miss 100% of the shots you don't take?
Michael Jordan.
Halfcock?
Alec Baldwin.
So yeah, the cleaning guns thing, I think is bullshit. It's not bullshit. Because we have this rule, right? Treat all guns as if they're always loaded. That is an absolute, right? But we break it.
Yep.
Because sometimes we have to treat guns as if they're not loaded.
Yep.
Such as?
Well, when we clean them, if you're looking to...
But even then, you don't have to point it at you. You don't have to point it at somebody else. You don't have to.
No, you're right. I mean, there's nuances to it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, but I wouldn't break apart a gun that's loaded.
Oh, okay. Well, check this out. I kind of see what you're saying, but also I just want to throw in something that Curtis from VSO Gun Channel said.
I like that guy.
Is
Curtis.
when
Yeah, buddy.
Good channel.
when you're cleaning a gun and it's pointed different ways. Well, no, it's not a gun pointed different ways. It's components. It's broken down.
I agree.
That's my. I'm like, hey, if it's in a holster, that trigger's protected, all that, and it's not a piece of shit that's randomly going to go off that should be either fixed or destroyed. I don't count that as flagging. If you wore a shoulder holster and you turn around and there's a barrel pointing at me, if it's in that holster, I'm not freaked out about it.
No, yeah, of course.
If it's on a table and I walk in front of it, I'm not freaked out by that. It's more about when it's in your hands.
I just, I want to make the distinction that there is a spirit of something, and then there's sometimes a slightly different reality to it. The spirit of treating all guns as if it's always loaded is a principle, is something that we are absolute about. However, the reality is sometimes that gun becomes not a gun anymore. I can break that thing apart and it is components. Right. So there is a gray area where instantly that thing not becomes a gun anymore. And I wouldn't treat it like that because...
I think that we have allowed unsafe gun handling to permeate this under the auspices of safety.
Yes.
Yep.
It's silly. It is 100% silly notion. If you got to hate somebody for saying it, I'll say it. Somebody said it best. I think it was Sonny. If you cruising through the internet looking for a place, let's say you're looking to train or whatever, and or a range or someplace like that, and the first paragraph they say safety is paramount. Safety is our first. He's like, full stop. Skip them. Go to the next one. Delete that. Don't never go back to it. I was like, because safety in that regard is not paramount. What they're told. I'll give you guys. I'll confess something to you. In the 90s, when I was a firearms instructor for the Marine Corps, we at some point would pat ourselves on the back for receiving a large group of Marines, getting their guns in their hands, loading them, shooting some bullshit qual thing, and then getting the guns unloaded and out of their hands and back into a hard case and back into a big metal box. Right. We would pat ourselves on the back for not having any incidents in that. And I was like, did you really just earn your money today? And the answer is no. And I was like, you know, in hindsight, I was like, that was a ridiculous thing to be bragging about. Sure. Yep. And then everyone still always had that one story about that guy that almost turned around with a gun in his hand, or he almost did something, or some guy had to wave a paddle, or some dude had to yell at a dude,
or smack someone with a paddle.
Right. And if you give them a paddle, they're gonna hit somebody with it. You know it's coming. Right.
There's gonna be some ass smack going on.
Right. They're like, well, look, like. You know, it's like, well, and the real answer is there's 16 of you here. I have to make you do something.
Sure.
And so, because Uncle Sam is paying for you to be here. So, like you had to yell at somebody about something. The whole thing was ridiculous. It was stupid. And if there was any good takeaway from it, I said, I vowed that if I was ever in a position where like, for example, if it's my company or my curriculum that I'm putting out, I'm never doing that. I'm never. And, well, I say never, but I'll say this, like, there's things that you can tell them, say, look, I want you to approach this with the seriousness that it deserves.
Yeah.
I don't want to do a bunch of things that makes them even more nervous than they already are.
Yep.
Because that is an accident waiting to happen.
I'm good. Thank you.
And
whip.
So
I won't be fucking in class tomorrow, man. I'll be hungover.
He'll only get half a patch tomorrow.
Yeah, I can't do that. I'm after my banana stickers.
But like you can make them so nervous they don't want to do anything, and that's kind of counterproductive.
Yeah.
Because I want more armed people out there doing good things. Like I want you saving like church loads of people.
Yep.
Right.
Like I want you doing that. I want you like flat smashing a new, the next chick with purple hair and a penis that walks into some place and starts shooting the place up. I want you to shoot the hell out of them. But not because they have purple hair and a penis. It's because they're shooting people.
Right.
Yeah.
And
it's almost like the actions that they're doing are more important than the identity that they have with them.
Jay hates purple.
And penises, apparently.
Shame on you.
No, because like it's somebody just like describing what kind of gun they had. I was like, dude, as a gun person, I don't really care what kind of gun they had. Like, nobody cares. The fact that they came in here and started blasting a bunch of people,
that matters.
So
that's bullshit.
Like the simple thing with this is that if you have to unload a gun for safety, you're also the guy who gets fucking nervous when you have a loaded gun in your hands. Right. There's the guys that are freaked out, and they're like, the guys got scared if you turn and face a certain way. And the reason why there's 90,000 rules at every range.
It's just the bigger part is like it's all under the auspices of safety, and that's a sacred cow. You're not allowed to question that.
Yeah.
Like if you do, like you're ostracized from the group. Right. And I said that needs to die a horrible death.
If it doesn't apply in the real world. You know, like if it's not something you would do with your gun when there's someone shooting, like you said, at the church, right? It's not a real thing.
Yeah, the thing that always stuck with me in this topic of how should we treat firearms, it always comes back to Jaeger in my brain of he would always espouse Miyamoto Musashi, where every time you hold this sword, you should be treating it like it's going to cleave another man in half, right?
Yes.
Something I'm probably bastardizing it, but
martial gun handling.
Martial gun handling. Yeah. That is one of my tenets.
Which
a sacred cow for me, almost in a way that, like, you know what? I've actually had some really great training from dudes like Sonny. Sonny Pazikas, Forward Training Concepts, also coming to Florida sometime soon.
Yeah, do that.
He's amazing.
Do that.
And
don't be weird.
What's awesome about him is he will also challenge your sacred cows, which is actually one of the things that I just love about this topic, and like challenging those things that we hold dear. And sometimes it helps us think. Sometimes it helps galvanize us into holding on to those things a little bit more. For me, I think martial gun handling is one of those things that I've grown to really embrace. Where like if I'm holding I catch myself all the time doing something where I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna move this from here to here, like this pistol from here to here, and I get disappointed in myself because I'm like, even that small little motion, that little insignificant part of my day,
dude, I did it less than an hour ago, but on this table, I was like, oh crap,
But it's like those are the things that help reinforce that to you of, hey. There's this idea of safety, right? And we can follow arbitrary rules and bullshit things and idioms and catchy phrases of unloaded guns never shot anybody, or we can believe in the thing that we have the confidence to use it, or like, and make sure that we're treating it in a way that is martial, but also safe.
But that's the thing, like a few hundred years ago, we probably wouldn't have this conversation because people people carried guns. It was a known thing.
The default was to treat it like
the default was it is a loaded gun. And like now as we've become advanced and civilized, we don't do that. But like there's selective times where we do that from time to time, and it's like, well, I'm not in law enforcement or military. I don't have to worry about that. And I'm just like, well, actually, dude, yeah, you do, because one of the things that strikes me is sometimes I hear comments like why are these guys doing this type of training? Like that one guy's like a fat Pizza Hut manager or something, and he's like, they're not Navy SEALs or whatever.
They're the gravy SEAls.
Well, no, it was like, so like somehow their vocation has something to do with it.
Oh, it's funny how those people never have a video of themselves doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously of the size that gets called a gravy SEAL or MEAL Team 6 guy.
Well, so more specifically is categories of people. It's like, well, that guy will never need to use that. However, these guys that like keep me safe, in foreign lands, they need to do it. I was like, well, they already are. Like it's in their job description to do that. Like, but when's the last time a crackhead walked up to a squad of Marines, jocked up, at the low ready, screwed a Jennings 25 into somebody's ribs and said, give me all your money. When's the last time that's ever happened?
Right.
It doesn't happen. When's the last time a Pizza Hut manager was locking the door, turned around, and there's a guy with a Jennings 25 and said, give me all the money? Every damn day.
Yeah.
So when people tell me, it's like, well, that guy won't need it, but those people will. I was like, it's 100% the opposite way. That guy already has it. And some years back, somebody told me, he said, well, I only train at this range because they have high-speed operator type dudes coming there. It's like, no, they don't. They have dudes that come there and tell you they are, but
who aren't wearing a gun on the side there.
And not wearing a gun, Jesus Christ. And I was like, yeah, those guys typically don't, because they have to do that for a living to get. They get made to do that kind of stuff on their weekends. Like they just want to like sit in the recliner and watch TV all day. Like, can you blame them? Right. And then, so the other dude, like he's stuck. He's like, where do I go to get the good stuff?
Yeah.
And then you have people say, well, you can't have that. You can't know that, whatever. And I'm like of the mind, I'm like, dude, give it all to him.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if he'll ever, you probably never use 99% of this, but I don't know that. Like, I'll probably never see this guy again when he leaves. And it's like, well, aren't you afraid that you're going to be like arming, preparing bad guys in there? So yeah, it's possible, but
unlikely.
It's unlikely, but well, let's look at it this way. Like, if that is the case, should I not be trying to get an equal amount of good guys out there to try to overwhelm? When I was working overseas, I was told when you're training the Iraqis, like, don't tell them everything. And because, you know, there could be some bad guys in there.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's relative, you know, like,
Yeah.
you know, if you think about it, we've been the bad guys in a lot of things. And what was it? Was it Norm Macdonald? He said
I read it. He's like, I read it in the history book. Turns out we were the good guys.
he said that the good guys won every war, according to the good guys. And so I said it's relative, but they would tell me, like, don't show them everything. Like, show them enough, but don't show them everything. And I said, what's everything? And no one can answer me,
Dude.
And I was like, well, I still don't know what that is. So I did what I thought.
Yep.
Because we were traveling with them anyway, like it was like a 1-to-4 ratio.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you got in a car and left and went anywhere, like, those dudes are going to be in there with you, or there's going to be a car chasing you with them in it.
Yep.
And so I said, okay, what do I want these guys to know if we have to do whatever we got to do? And I said, I want them to know everything.
Yeah.
The everything was the answer. Like there wasn't enough I could show them.
Yeah.
And anyway, so they said, well, we didn't mean that or that or that or that. I said, well, nobody was specific in this, and I didn't see anybody raising their hand to come help me either. And but they would say funny stuff like, well, I don't want to, you know, to get a gun pointed at me or whatever like that. And I was like, bro, you're going to have a gun pointed at you.
Yeah.
It's going, but for some reason, like, if it was a white dude holding the gun and did it, it was okay.
Sure.
And if it happened in the house, it was okay. The house you live in. But if it was another dude that didn't speak English, that was a problem.
Right.
And I was like, what's the difference?
Well,
if you're afraid of having a gun pointed at you, do not become a firearms instructor.
yeah. Well, it's,
Yeah, you should not do that.
So,
And,
man,
hold on.
Yeah.
I have
Go
a
ahead.
thread here that I want to get to, which may actually be the point where we can kind of pull this thing together. I think you hit on in what my opinion, and I'm just forming this right now, is the biggest myth in all of, I'm going to say even bigger than the firearms training world, but almost all of society. And that is that all humans are evil.
we all have the potential for darkness.
You do have
We
it.
do.
You do.
But to me, it's a total myth.
Yep.
Because humans, on average, like, do good things.
Yep.
You know, we have instinctually the drive to be good people. And this is something that even we've been, like, in our circles, in our world, get kind of caught up in sometimes, of just focusing on, like, the shit bags. But, like, on average, like you said, like, why shouldn't I teach everybody everything? Because I would rather every single person have a gun.
Mm-hmm.
Because more than likely, there's going to be people who do good things with them rather than bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And training them means that they're more likely to effectively do good things. But, like, when you really look at all the people you've ever met in your life, how many of them would you say, "Ooh, I wouldn't want them to be armed around me"?
I agree.
It's a very, very small number.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I think once they start doing things with these guns, there's a consequence to what that, like, it wasn't real to them until they started doing stuff with it. And I agree with you where there's always a potential, you know, there's a dark side in there that they're suppressing.
You
know,
can't
like
ignore it.
like a Jordan Peterson type, you know, like, you have to be dangerous, but you got to suppress
shadow.
it.
Yeah.
Like, that's the mark of that. But I think, like, people don't have, like, a real appreciation for that. Well, I'll get upset. I'll get angry. I'll do this thing. In this case, it would be shoot them, and then they'll take me seriously. And then the guy will jump up off the floor, and he'll be okay, and we'll all be friends again. So no, he's not jumping up off the floor.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. So I think if they were exposed to this kind of stuff, like they would say, you know what, that's for keeps. Like maybe I might just figure out a different way to make my point.
Yeah.
Instead of, doing what the shadow is telling them to do.
There's a potential for evil in everyone. And like, what would you do for your kids? Right? So there's a potential. That being said, if you want to kind of like study this a little bit, look at statistics and psychology behind narcissists, sociopaths, and psychopaths, look how many there are. It's not a high number, but they're there.
Yeah, they are. Well, why do we train? Like, why do we train? We train because
to save lives.
To save lives. That means that there are people out there that are willing to take lives unfairly, unjustly, for their own gain because they're evil.
Now,
evil exists.
Right, but what's their motivation? Like in their brain, it could make perfect sense.
Sure.
To them, and like, so, but at the time, like we don't need to discuss this. Like I said,
there's only one fear for a psychopath.
Yeah, the chick with the dick that's currently shooting people, already blasting. Like we're past the talking phase.
Yeah.
Like we're into the you need to stop doing that right now.
But the point I was trying to make with the myth is that a lot of people who cling on to that myth of all people are evil think that if you put a gun in the hands of anyone, they turn into the purple-haired chick with a dick. That if you teach them how to kill, then that's what they'll do.
Right. Because usually comes from people who are unstable themselves.
Right.
It can, or I think it comes from people that are just straight up afraid.
Yep.
Yeah. I think the presence of the inanimate object is not the thing that pushes them over the edge.
Yeah.
Something pushes them over the edge, and then they go find the required tool to carry out whether it's a red SUV and you're going to run over a Christmas parade or you're going to shoot up a church. So in either event, those people are there's some kind of series of synapses that are not firing in the correct order.
Now, the thing I always come back to on that, like, can't have this thing or can't teach them this stuff. Whenever you do that, for whatever reason, what you were in the end doing is saying that a young single mother with a stalker cannot protect herself and her baby. Because it's not just about like dudes like us, right?
Yeah.
It's about my daughter.
Yeah.
If I were to get in a car accident tonight and my daughters are still going to grow up, they're still going to become adults. And I'm not going to have any influence on them besides, what I gave them now and what I can leave behind. I'm not going to be able to have further influence or be able to further protect them. And they're going to, 100%, they're going to get into bad situations no matter what. And it could be really bad. And they need to be capable of handling that on their own so they're not becoming victims. That's like the thing that I think about, that I care about.
Sure.
I always encourage people, I'm like, dude, fucking bring your kids to class as soon as you can. Like, you're 45 or 50 years old. And if you think about it, I'm not trying to be a dick, but it's like, it sucks that you're trying to learn how to rack a pistol at 70 years old. Because anything could have happened. I've even had students who had bad things happen to them. And it took decades after that. And they had to see the riots happening for them to realize that it could happen again.
And sometimes they have to do training in palatable segments. And because of the traumatic thing that occurred to them before, like they've done all they can stand for like this session. And then they'll come back later. And I'm like, dude, the fact that you come back is a big deal.
It's huge.
The fact that you started, and B, the fact that you came back, huge. Completely like
I give a ton of props to it is incredibly impressive when somebody who's suffered some sort of trauma comes to training. But one of the things as a teacher that I try to like always hold dear to the heart is like just how fucking hard it is to come to that first class.
Oh yeah.
When back
for anybody.
Oh yeah.
Way back when, and I think it was like when the first USCCA started making their first periodicals, the magazines. There's a write-up in there about her. But in Nashville, girl had a stalker, jealous ex something. She has a new boyfriend, husband, whatever. Dude comes in, public place, restaurant or something like that, shoots him, points the gun at her, doesn't press the trigger for some reason, points the gun at him, doesn't have the nuts to press it, and runs out. She came and took a class in 3 parts, and I was there for all 3 parts. And she's like, "This is all I can handle today." It's like, "All right, well, we'll see you when you come back." Because Jaeger would tell me, he's like, "Listen, she's gonna come. She's gonna be blah blah blah. She's gonna want to talk to you about the incident. Like whatever you do, like do your best to change the subject politely as you can." And so I think I did well because she came back. So if I don't have any other way to know.
I mean, success.
And so at the end of the whole thing, she says, I'm not doing this for me, because we always say stuff like that, like save me. And, I get it, like Gary said today, like, you're in the plane, put the mask on you, then put the mask on other people. She said, and I'll never forget it. She said, I don't ever want to be sitting in that seat watching someone die and not being able to do anything about it. And so that stuck with me for a long, long, long time. And I said, wow, that would have to suck. And even though in some degree, like some of us have done it already. So, had I only been there a second earlier, or if I had this thing, or acted sooner, or, blah, blah, blah. So it's no going back after that. You just say, well, how do you want to continue? Like, how do you want to keep going on? And, but she did all that. And anyway, the point of all that was so that nobody else dies. I mean, I know we're all going to check out, but if there's something you can do to kind of extend that for a little while, you should. So don't get vaccinated.
And bully those who aren't.
So I just want to bring it back around one last time. We were going to talk about all the sacred cows tonight, and we only got through safety. And I would actually say mindset
probably
is
the
really,
biggest.
is the biggest one that we really hit on tonight. Man, it'd be awesome to continue this in future iterations, because I love chatting with you guys. And there's so many more. Like just a couple of categories that we had on here, and I'm not saying we go into them. I'm just like the sacred cows of like fundamentals. Like we could do a whole podcast just on that.
You mean like lean into your shot?
yeah, that's the first fundamental apparently. But there's so many things. What I encourage anybody listening to this tonight, or whenever you listen to it, is really embrace the idea of critical thinking.
Yep.
Don't just follow dogma. Like, yep. I think that's something that I've learned from these two guys at the table, especially Jay. I've been training with Jay for going on almost 10 years now, and that's the one.
Feels like 100.
Yeah, it feels like 100. But man, I'm a richer person, not financially, for going down that path, because it's what I've learned from these amazing people is that thinking about these things, challenging them, learning from other trainers. Not just repeating the things that you hear from one mindset, one way of thinking is so super valuable, because you can have these types of discussions to talk about things that go, why is that? Why do we do that? Why is that the sacred cow or
why do we keep repeating it?
Yeah. Like who wrote this down? Like who carved it in stone?
There's a couple things I like to throw in for that. There's no such thing as common sense.
Okay.
We've all done dumb stuff.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. So if someone says it's common sense, not 100%. Also, I hate the phrase "find what works best for you." If you're a dude in a wheelchair, okay, there's things that work best for you, right? Okay, but find what works best.
Yeah.
Find what works best, period.
Yeah. And I would agree with that. Although I will caveat with, like, sometimes the thing that works best isn't the best for you.
No, that's true. There's certain, there's certain times, and
I'm not. It took me a long time to not subscribe to just the thoughts and kind of isms. I'll call them isms of one particular school of thought or school of training.
And that would still be what works best, is not subscribing to the same thing.
Yeah. And
so, like Travis Haley said, never say never, except to never be absolute.
Yeah.
And I love that one.
Yeah. But is there any final thoughts you guys have on absolutes or the sacred cows or things along that nature?
Pretty much, there's some things that like aren't really within this realm, but it's kind of like every rule pretty much can be broken.
Every one of them. They're made to. It's almost like there's an idiom that's like rules are made to be broken.
Mm-hmm. They are.
Yeah.
And that's why I want to do a podcast in the future on when it's acceptable to break the firearms.
I think that is priority number one for the next time we get together.
Yep.
Is just talking about the 4 firearm safety rules and breaking all of them.
Bro, just talking about it, we probably broke one. It's like, you don't ever question them. Like that's not allowed.
So Jay, let me ask you a question. What
Yes,
do you got coming up soon? Like, you got any classes coming up this year?
Yeah, brother. All of the small unit tactics block for tactical response.
Hell yeah,
should
you will
be happening
find
in March.
me at the.
That's right.
At the contractor, HRCC sampler, right?
Yep.
April 18th ish or something like that. It's somewhere in April.
That's going to be happening in March and April. Check the website for that, obviously. And myself, for Prairie Lectus, I'll be in Minden, Louisiana, May the 18th and the 19th. I'll be doing some stuff with Ryan Barnett is the host out there. So if there's still open seats in that. So if you're interested, you need to hit that dude up and we'll make something happen. He's got a place out there. He's been training since about 2017. And they're doing good stuff out there, and we want to continue that as long as we can. I want to try to do a pistol rifle combo 2 days. We might even throw in a night shoot in there as well. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, then
it all sounds interesting to me.
Yeah, man. So hit me up direct, or you can get a hold of Ryan and we'll get you sorted out. So sign up early before that thing fills up. And then the next place that we're looking at is Fitzpatrick, Alabama at Hog Rush. We want to try to set some things up there. So if we can get some folks that are interested in something, I want to try to lead with a pistol rifle combo, day 1, day 2, that kind of stuff, just so everybody kind of gets the flavor that I'm trying to put out. Maybe a different fit for you. Hopefully so. And
I can personally vouch for Jay's classes. I got to host him for FAFO this year, and the Executive Protection 5-day class that he does. And by the way, if you are in the New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, Maryland area, anywhere in that kind of quad state area, reach out to me, Mike at bulletin.net. I will make sure I get Jay up here to train because I love helping him get up into our area, even though technically right now we're in Florida. But I love bringing him up to Pennsylvania, and you'll be coming up this summer, I believe, for patrolling the homestead with Andrew, right?
Yeah, that's right. The PA crew is always like spot on. I'm completely impressed by those dudes every time. And like it's funny because I'll get up there and like start saying stuff, and they're like, "Yeah, we already do that," and I'm like, "Oh, all right, well, I'll just shut up then."
Well, it's because you got guys like me and Gary up there going, "Hey, you know what we learned from Jay is this. We should do this," and everyone goes, "That sounds like a good idea. We should do that."
So I'll tell them, and they're like, "Yeah, we already do it." I'm like, "Oh, okay, fight and go."
Yeah, we just show up and Jay just says fight, and we all know what to do.
Right, perfect. And then also to London, Kentucky with Steve Davis.
Steve Davis.
Steve Davis. He's working.
I know that guy.
That dude is he's killing it up there. So definitely talk to that boy, sign up, do some stuff with him.
I'm gonna put somebody on the spot. Steve, what's up, brother?
What's up, bro?
Come on, dude.
Bullet in. But you got to get on, bro.
Right.
Like,
so he's killing it up there. He's threatening to bring me up there to do stuff, and I'm about to call him out on it. So we're gonna
hell yeah.
I'm
about to make him live
That's
up
right.
to it.
And then, but we'll try to put some stuff together, and we're looking forward to all of you showing up, and I hope to see you there. Again, anything that you might be interested in doing, please let me know.
Yeah.
Sign up early as you can, so I can get ready.
Jay travels. So if you have a range somewhere and you're like, man, I want some of the best fucking training I could possibly think of, reach out to him, prelectustraining.com, right?
Yes, sir.
You can look him up on bulletin.net. You can reach out to me. I will coordinate.
Yeah, Bulletin. Bulletin would be a good spot to go to.
We're big fans of Jay Gibson here.
Well, thank you.
Andrew, what you got going up this year?
So you can find classes at combatarttraining.com. We've got pistol and rifle classes going on, 2-day classes, and those are more fighting classes. And then we also have skills classes that are like 1-day classes. Man, they're fun, and people really like learn a lot of like nuances they've never thought about in those ones. So basically all the stuff I don't do in a fighting class, I put in those ones.
Okay. It's all the little stuff.
Yeah. But carry pistol 1 all the time, rifleman 1 all the time, and then various other classes, the quote unquote advanced classes, the ones that are like you need to do a prerequisite before that. I try to put one up like every month, but they're less frequent. And then hosting Sonny Pazikis, Jared Reston. I'll be at some Green Line classes.
Only some big ass names right there. He was just casually thrown in, like, yeah, I'm just hosting Sonny Pazikis.
So I scheduled them
Jared
range
Reston.
time. I was like, hey, I'd like it if I didn't have to travel and you'd come here. But Sonny, Jared Reston, Zach Bush, Dave Harrington.
Yep.
Super
and if you want some of that stuff around the country, I'm saying, I'm putting it out there for Andrew. Get in touch because he travels too.
Yep.
I know he's coming up to Pennsylvania. We're going to get him up there for more stuff. So.
And gear.
We're planning on getting it patrolling the homestead scheduled in PA the weekend before the muster. That's going to be a great week.
That's the Tremis Dynamics muster. Happens every August.
Mm-hmm. And then there's also a joint class with Sonny and Gary, Force and Force class during the week before the muster.
There's all types of awesome shit happening in August in Pennsylvania. So you should check out Bulletin. It's all on there.
Just quit your job, fucking make it happen.
Just come hang out for a
sell
month.
your car,
Give us your money. You're never coming back.
Also planning on getting patrolling the homestead scheduled at Tactical Response. So hopefully before Alumni Weekend or somewhere around there.
Around Alumni Weekend.
For
middle of July.
For me, if
sounds great, walking around in the jungles of Tennessee in the middle of July.
Dude, it's better than Florida. Are you kidding me?
Dude, I know, right?
I came up from Florida and they're like, it's so hot. I'm like, bro, there's a breeze. Shut up.
Yeah, quiet. It'll stop.
For me, if you want to schedule me up at your place, hit me up. If there is a class that you want to take that's not on the calendar, let me know. I'd be happy to put it on there. I do all this. I make the gear so that I can afford to train people.
But
that's
you
what
better
it's all
not
about.
want you better not hope to get desert. Is that what it is?
Dude, I like a
Three-color
desert camo bump bag, but
Yeah.
I got a woodland one. The stitching is perfect,
Yeah.
but
The woodland's
It's-
cool, but apparently you can't get a 3-color desert one
you
to save
can't.
your life.
He hid the desert one from me.
No, but seriously, Andrew makes some of the best shit. And stay tuned to the Bolden channel this year because I'll be putting out some more gear reviews of his stuff. It's probably one of the collections of things that I've grown in the last 2 years or year and a half. More than anything else, like fanny pack, bump bag, battery pack, slings, small backpack. Like all of a sudden, I became like a combat art training whore.
Thank you, Max Lozana.
Yeah, Max, my co-host on this awesome podcast.
Max is the fucking
wish you could
best.
be down here, buddy. But yeah, check out Combat Art Training. They got awesome gear. He's always making new stuff, so. It's great to check out.
And we don't do discounts for anyone except alumni. And if you train at Tremis, you train at Tactical Response, or someone I like, you can show me that you do that. You will find out about the discount.
There should be a bulletin discount code.
They have to show that they train somewhere.
There should be a bulletin discount.
Hey, if they can send me a receipt or a certificate picture,
fair enough.
I will give them a code. That's fine.
So, yeah, with that, guys, I just like to say thank you so much for taking the time. I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. It's so, rewarding to be able to train with you guys and to call you my friends. And man, I count my blessings every day.
Yeah. This has been fucking awesome. Like I tell people all the time, you meet the best people in training classes, and so
it's the best part. It's the best part about what we do is the people.
Yeah,
It's more cerebral than it's given credit for.
Yeah.
So with that, guys, check us out at the Bulletin community on Facebook. Talk about this. Talk about these guys. Ask them questions. I know they're on there too, and send them emails and engage with everybody. And until next time, get smart, stay ready, and find training.